Hi, this is Albert Plucknet. In this video, I want to describe the 3 steps to add language objectives to your lesson plans when you have English language learners in your class. Now, why would you want to do something like that? Well, you want to help the English language learners to learn the content objectives. You want to help them to learn English. You want to increase their participation in the class. And you want to increase their family participation. And about how to increase the family participation, that will be the subject of another video later when I talk about how to implement your instructional plan. And another reason you want to add language objectives is you want to raise the standardized test scores for your English language learners and your class and your school in general. I'm going to talk about 3 steps to add language objectives. The first step is to get the English development level information from the ESL teacher about your English language learner. Um, the second step will be to get what they call the can-do descriptors for the ELL's developmental level. And the third step will be to collaborate with the ESL teacher to develop the language objectives for your lesson plan. Okay, this will all hopefully become clearer when I give an example here toward the end of the video. The first step is to find out the English language learner's level of English development. So you can get, when your English language learner first came to the school, um, they were, he or she was assessed at a level of English language development with a test called the WAPT, the W-APT. That's the screening device uh, to get an initial idea of the developmental level. And then later the student will take something called the Access, and then will periodically throughout their school career will take the Access test until they're found to be proficient in English. And the developmental levels are entering, beginning, developing, expanding, bridging, and reaching. The second step will be to get the can-do descriptors. And what the can-do descriptors are, they're descriptions of what the English language learner would be able to process, understand, produce, or use at a given level. What kind of English language the ELL would be able to process, understand, produce, or use. And these can-do descriptors, the reason you're getting them is to provide the parameters for your language objective. Okay, they're going to give you an indication of what kind of language objective you will have. And you can obtain these descriptors from the can-do document at www.wida.us, or you can get them from your ESL teacher. Your ESL teacher can help you to get these descriptors. The third step will be to use the content area objective as a basis for making your language objective. So what you need to do in that case is to determine the language requirements for whatever your content area objective is, and then to devise a language objective that takes into account the requirements of the content area objective, your knowledge of the English language learner, then the your English as a second language teacher's knowledge of the language learner, and also, of course, the can-do descriptors. Now for the example, which will hopefully make it all clear. Let's say you have an English language learner named Ku, who's in your first grade class, and he is newly arrived in the country and he can speak very little English. When he first came to the school, he was assessed by the ESL teacher using the WAPT that I described earlier, which is a standardized screening tool. And in this case, he was found to be at the entering level of language development. Now let's say that you're going to teach a science lesson, and the objective for the lesson for your whole class is, when presented with pictures of common animals, the students will be able to classify them as mammal, reptile, or amphibian, and demonstrate that knowledge by writing their names, the animals' names that is, in the correct column of a chart. So in this case, your first step, you consulted with the ESL teacher and you found that Ku is at the entering level. Then your second step was you got the can-do descriptors for the entering level by going to the website. And you find that at that level, at the entering level, the English language learner is able to process, understand, produce, or use pictorial or graphic representations of content area language, words, phrases, or chunks of language when presented with one-step commands, directions, WH, choice, or yes or no questions, or statements with sensory, graphic, or interactive support. And you'll find at this level that the student will have oral language with errors that often impedes meaning. So now your third step will be to write the language objective, taking into consideration the content area objective, which, as you recall, is to classify animals as mammal, reptile, or amphibian. And from your knowledge of the student, Ku, and the can-do descriptors, you understand that Ku will first need to know the names of the animals in English. So, given all that, you create the following language objective. When orally prompted with the names of common animals, the student will be able to point to pictures of the animals. And then once Ku is able to meet that objective, you might want to make it a little more difficult by adding more objectives, such as when the teacher points to the animal, then Ku will be able to say the names of the animals. And then after that, the Ku will be able to both say and write the names of the animals. So, in summary, language objectives, when you add them to your content area objectives in your lesson plans, will help the English language learners to not only gain content area knowledge, but also to acquire English. Academic English, as a matter of fact, which is more difficult and takes longer to acquire than social English. So it's very important to help the English language learners by adding language objectives that will help them learn both the content area knowledge and the English. And this video has described a three-step process to do just that, to add the language objectives. And in future videos, I'll talk about how to modify your instruction to meet those language objectives. And also, which is also very important, is how to involve the English language learner's family in the process. And thank you for your attention and your time, and please write your comments or questions below.